start. Just waiting for some people to come into the room. How you doing, Drika? April. Hallelujah.
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 Shabbat Shalom, Israel, to the 12 tribes of Yahsara'al, scattered but not destroyed. We welcome you again to another Shabbat Day service here at the Awakening Remnant Coalition, Dallas, affectionately known as the Ark. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
On last week, we went into a subject that was kind of close and near to my heart, talking about sex. Well, I asked the question, is sex marriage? This is one of the talked about topics in Yahsara'al, and it's one of those doctrines that have led many astray, and so we wanted to cover it. But I also this week want to really go into depth about marriage and the marriage contract and what marriage truly is. So as we get ready to go before the Most High Yah, I want to tell everybody greetings once again, and we're going to go back into Deuteronomy 22. When you get it, say con.
Con.
Everybody got it with me. We want to say hello also before we get started to Brother Rod in his absence. We pray that you get rest today because we know that you've had a very hard week. So, we just want you to know that we miss you, brother, and can't wait to see you again next week. Let's see, I'm all in numbers. There we go. All right. So, as we get ready to talk about the sex marriage, we went down and broke down part of the contract or part of some of the things that happen in our custom that would line us up and let us know about the marriage contract and what part sex played in this contract. And after speaking about it or going into it, we began to realize that sex really wasn't the foundation of the marriage more than it was something that kind of like sealed the deal, or something that proved a point or proved that what you were receiving was pure or not defiled. So we covered words like virgin, we covered words like defile, we covered words like bride in the Hebrew, and all these words we covered last week, we covered in their Hebraic form so that we can understand its function and how it worked. This week, I really want to touch on two aspects. First of all, we need to fundamentally understand and know what a marriage is. Western minds will have you believe that a marriage is something based off of emotion. It will also have you believe that this bond is between two people, but we also know, those who study law know that a marriage contract or a marriage license holds you accountable to a municipality. So not only are you married to your spouse, but you're also in contract or with a municipality.
Bring it out. Bring it out.
Okay. Which then prevents you from exercising certain rights that are entitled to you through a true Hebraic marriage, because now you pay your money to the state issues you a license, then you have to, if you want to annul, or if you want to divorce, or anything, you're allowing the state or the municipality, the country into your life. This is something that we as Israelites are starting to understand that we need to move away from. We want to get the least amount of government interaction in our relationships. Now, I want you to understand too that we here at the Ark understand the fact that marriage can be monogamous and it also can be polygynous. I want you to understand this. We're not discussing or proving marriage is monogamous or polygynous. That's not our argument here. We are discussing the fundamental foundation of marriage. So if you are looking for me to be on the side of the polygynous movement, you're wrong. I'm not going to jump on that bandwagon. If you're looking for me to be on the monogamous part of the marriage, I'm not jumping on that bandwagon either. I'm going to teach what the script says. And that's what I'm bound to. I'm not bound to any other ideals or any other social constructs. I'm bound to Torah. And so I'm going to teach what Torah says and to the best of my ability, and that which I don't know, any other questions that come up, we will then touch. Now, the panel of brothers that you see here today, including myself, Yahoo bin Yehuda, Malak bin Yahsara'al, and Levi are some of the brothers and elders here at the Ark. Understand this: we are the type of brothers who are open to exchange, as long as it's based in Torah. We don't really deal with people's emotions. That's not how we work or operate. So if it's not scripture, we really don't care. Now, I want to tell you this in a marriage. A marriage is not an emotional contract. First of all, we have to understand that the Most High did not deal in emotions. So I'm going to give you a definition, a rough definition of marriage. Okay, so marriage is a verbal or written covenant, contract, or agreement between two or more parties for the sole reason of transferring assets one party to another. Once again, I'm going to hit this subject again. A marriage, biblically, is a written or verbal covenant, contract, or agreement between two or more parties for the sole purpose, I want you to hear this, the sole purpose of transferring assets from one party to another. So, we're going to say, what are assets? What do you deem as an asset? Let me go into the importance of the sisters of Yahsara'al. First things first, the most important commodity outside of the Most High that Yahsara'al had was the daughters of Zion. Okay, I'm going to say this again because I got a house full of women and ain't nobody saying that. The most important commodity or asset that we had in Yahsara'al outside of the Most High was the daughters of Zion.
Hallelujah. Amen.
Why is this important to know? Because our very function as men in Yahsara'al was to give service not only to the Most High, but to our women.
That's right. Come on. That's right.
Henceforth, why contractual marriage was so important. Because it kept sisters, the daughters of Zion, under a covering.
That's right. That's right. Protection.
The daughters of Zion always belonged to the Most High. So they were always under the protection and covering of the Most High Yah. But I want you to also understand that they were also under a earthly covering, which was a man or, well, period, a man.
That's right.
Period.
That's right. Exactly.
Period. Period.
That's right. Period.
I'm not gonna go into no ors or no maybes or no but they were either under the covering of the Most High, their heavenly Father, or under the covering of their Abba, which was their earthly father, or they then became under the covering of the husband. Only way that a woman was covered by someone other than a husband, which would be another family member, was due to death.
That's right. That's right.
So uncles would take the responsibility of his brother's kids if they weren't at marriageable age. He would let them into their family. Go ahead.
Let me add one more. Or a brother, but the sister had to be a virgin.
Okay.
You can find that in Leviticus. We'll go over that, Leviticus 21.
So Leviticus 21.
Chapter
We'll go over that too today. Hopefully. Well, yeah, the priests, but those are brothers too. So the priests were responsible for the widows and the orphans.
That's right. That's right.
Okay, so those were women that husbands were dead, they were too old to get down, and so the priest, I don't mean get down in that sense. I got some players. I just got some moves. I didn't mean like that. I mean, they were too old they weren't concerned about marriage
That's right.
at that point.
That's right.
In
Let's
that
get some clarity.
sense. Sorry. They had gotten to their upper years. They didn't raise the family. They had
We
some.
going to explain it out.
I didn't mean get down like get down, like, get down. I mean, they were just
Good cleanup, Octa.
so.
Hold on. There's a few people online. Let's acknowledge a few people online. I think Brother Johnny is on there. I say Shabbat Shalom. And I couldn't see the other person that was on there, but Shabbat Shalom also to you guys on YouTube as well.
So what we are trying to do is establish the fact of what a marriage is. Now, I want y'all to understand something too in this contractual marriage. The reason why the Most High kept the women protected was because they were responsible for carrying the seed forward. Okay? It's good for us to have, as a man, to have all this. I'm just going to be plain and blank. I'm sorry. It's a good thing for us to have all this sperm and we're able to create and make children. But without fertile ground to put it in, it's useless.
It's useless.
It's useless. So when the Most High instituted the fact that we needed to carry our seed on, that we needed a vessel. And remember when I told you on last week that a wife was a vessel that was suitable, or a container which was suitable for a husband. Why was this important? because this vessel was not only to hold his seed, like we think, but it was also to hold on to his emotions. Because there are stuff that I share with my helpmeet, with my wife, that I don't share with any other women. You see what I'm saying? She knows my intimates of intimates.
That's right, that's right.
She knows my hurts. She knows my strengths. She knows my weaknesses. She knows my every flaw. She knows that I sleep with a CPAP mask. She knows that I drool in my sleep. There are things that my wife knows, well, now that the world knows, that a lot of other people aren't really privy to unless I share it with them.
Your wife is your comfort.
Yes, she is my comfort.
That's right.
When I come home from a hard day's work, my wife is my comfort. She's my sounding board.
And you nurture her.
Oh, yeah.
That's right.
She is all of that. Understand this, women, when you go into a relationship with a man, into this relationship as a wife, you learn the skills to take care of a husband, to take care of children.
Right, that's right.
Because like I told you on last week, men really ain't nothing but grown boys.
Homeboys, that's right.
We traded in our Tonka trucks for Ford trucks. We traded in our G.I. Joes for the fellas.
Yeah.
We exchanged toys, but we still have that mindset. You know, there's sometimes we as fellas just want to get away and be with the fellas.
That's right, that's right.
Women, in the sisterhood fact, you learn how to be daughters first.
That's right.
And so you maneuver through the house as daughters. For the most part, as daughters, you watch your mother.
That's right, that's right.
And you see how your mother handles you. But not only do you see how she handles you, the most valuable relationship is how she handles your father.
That's right. There you go, there you go.
If you have an honorable mother, she handles your father like she would handle her Elohim.
That's right, that's right.
Now, I want you to understand this, though. She isn't obligated to treat you like you her Elohim or her Lord if you ain't no Lord.
That's right.
Facts.
That-
Facts.
So if you ain't following up under no moral statutes as a man, don't expect for your wife to treat you like a king
That's right.
if you acting like the court jester.
It's good. It's good.
I'm gonna be honest with you. And you go in the New Testament and look in Paul's writing, he'll clear it up for you. I'm not going through where it's at right now, but I want you to understand this. A woman is not obligated to treat you like her Lord if you are acting like an idiot.
That's right, that's right.
You said you wasn't going to Paul's letters, but I was so like,
Go.
hold on.
I'm gonna let Levi look this up. We're gonna visit this.
Yeah, because so like, Ephesians 5:22.
This is why I keep these brothers around. I told y'all I was dyslexic.
To add to what the brother is saying, you know, I've heard sisters mention about not calling their husbands Lord. Yeah, I don't use the term Lord or whatever, but anyway, when you understand where Paul is coming from, he's talking about being a master of his own property, being a master of his own house. So that's why, Sarah called Abraham Lord. You know what I'm saying? So the Ark is saying, if a brother is not operating in those factors or those manners or principles, you can't be expected to be called Lord or be treated as a Lord in your own house.
Okay, so
Okay, you covered it, but
I want you to read the
Go
scripture.
ahead.
But case in point, Ephesians 5:22. Okay, now I want you to understand the point. You have a responsibility as a man that when you take on a wife, that you need to be able to cover every base. Listen to me closely. That her father,
Bring it out.
that her earthly father
That's right.
was able to cover.
Right, that's right.
So I'm gonna put my own personal business out here, but we're gonna go through the scripture real quick. So I'm gonna let Levi read the scripture, and I'm gonna put my own personal business out.
If I give a quick breakdown, just real quick.
Go ahead.
Ephesians 5:22. Wives, submit yourselves unto your own husbands as unto the Lord.
Right.
Now, real quick, it's not going to take long at all because Brother Chauncey pretty much broke it down. But you have to be, the men has to be, you have to be carrying yourself like Hamashiach. We're supposed to be walking after the steps of Hamashiach. We're supposed to be following his ways. So, in order for, like we said earlier, for you to gain the respect of your wife, you have to be carrying yourself righteously, or you have to be trying to. We all fall short, but at the same time, we have to be following the steps of Hamashiach. So, like it says, as unto the Lord. So you have to be carrying yourself like Hamashiach to gain the respect of your helpmeet. That's all.
Okay, so as we walk in the footsteps of Hamashiach, we're going to go back into Deuteronomy 22. I think we stopped at 20.
I think we talked about that 26 or 25. No, when we get to 25, we didn't read over that. We stopped at 24.
Yeah. So, Levi, I want you to start at 23, and we're going to read down. We'll just go through it again. We're going to etch through. So Deuteronomy 23. Deuteronomy 22, verse 23.
Deuteronomy 22, verse 23. If a damsel that is a virgin be betrothed unto an husband, and a man find her in the city, and lie with her, then ye shall bring them both out unto the gate of that city, and ye shall stone them with stones, that they die. The damsel, because she cried not, being in the city, and the man, because he hath humbled his neighbor's wife. So thou shalt put away evil from among you.
Hold on. Now, humbling a neighbor's wife means that you have known her like you would know your own woman. So to humble your neighbor's wife means you've had intimate, physical, not spiritual, but intimate, physical relations. All right, go ahead.
Verse 25. But if a man find a betrothed damsel in the field, and the man force her, and lie with her, then the man only that lay with her shall die.
Okay, now, going back into this verse, we are talking about a woman who has been promised, okay, betrothed to a man.
That's right.
So, during that period, we'll take you back to, let's go to Yaakov, Leah, and Rachel. Let's go there. So during that 7 years, when Yaakov was working for Laban, his daughters were betrothed, which means they were promised to him, which was a warning to any other man
That's right.
in the area, hands off. He is still trying to fulfill his contract, or he's still trying to fulfill his obligation. Okay? Now, what I want to explain to you is, Yaakov went to Laban, without funds. So when Yaakov went to Laban, he went without a bride price. Okay? I got to explain this to you because I made a mistake on last week, and I want to clear something up. Last week I said that Yaakov went without a dowry. Wrong choice of words. It's not a dowry. Okay? He did not come with the bride price. Okay, this is a difference. There are two forms of payment that take place in the contractual marriage. Okay? There is a bride price, which the man pays unto the father's family, okay, or to the father. Then there is the dowry. The dowry is payment from the father's family back to the husband. Now, I'm going to clear some things up about that. It ain't no money that the husband can just run wreck shot over. It is like a trust, or it's like, it's a trust. It's the woman's inheritance, part of the woman's inheritance from her father, which is given to the man for him to manage. He becomes a trustee over this, so that if anything happens to him, or if he puts her away, if he dies, anything, she will still have this nest egg over her head. So she won't be destitute or without. Go ahead.
He actually becomes the executor,
Yeah.
over that. You know what I'm saying? Because he's making sure that once he has the inheritance or the money, then he's responsible to make sure that it goes out the proper way. But she's the trustee.
Okay.
Yeah.
So to clarify that, she is the trustee, he is the executor over the estate at that point. So you remember all the sheep and goats that Joseph obtained? Those initial sheep and goats weren't his. They were Leah's and Rachel's.
That's right.
Further on in the story, Joseph gained his own funds, his own assets, by doing what? Taking care of Laban's sheep.
Exactly.
So as payment for taking care of Laban's herds, he then gained speckled and spotted and all these different other kind of goats and calves, which he then amassed his own wealth outside of the wealth of his wives. And Khan? Okay. Any questions? Any answers? Yes, go ahead.
So, and there's a little bit of good stuff in there. So, when we're talking about dowry, we kind of cleared up.
Speak a little louder,
We
sir.
cleared up the dowry and we got the bride price correct. And so, when we're talking about a husband getting a new portion either from the father or her bringing in herself that's going over as gifting to him. Like, as women, right, we think about, well, if we don't have fathers today, what is that asset or that value adding into this husband? It's not just, we'll think, oh, we're going to have children, so that's our asset. Be mindful that this is before they ever are able to have a child or anything, so there has to be value added into this man, right, of wherever his status is. It's going to increase his household. So whatever type of value or asset that is, and usually it's property or it could be finances or whatever, it's supposed to increase the marriage. And so this is a benefit for him. Well, he's going to give his benefit, but you have to give her benefit. So that's why we talk about in Genesis when it says that a woman needs to be a help meet. The word meet is an adjective describing the type of help, which is suitable, worthy, and appropriate, right? So we have to make sure, even with the dysfunction sometimes because every father in our history they didn't do everything right? So sometimes they didn't have anything to offer. So the mother had to train her up in the way that she may go so that she can be an increase to this marriage. So making note of that as sisters to think about that, from our perspective.
Con. So realize this, and to piggyback off of what our sister was saying here, is that a woman adds to.
That's right.
She does not take away from.
Exactly.
So if you are in a relationship where the person that you are into contract with is not an asset, they become a liability to you, then this is how you become unevenly yoked.
Thank you. I just broke that down to my wife the other day. We just had the same conversation.
See, a lot of people are thinking about we don't have the same beliefs,
Exactly.
we don't have the same understanding, but when you enter into contracts and you become an asset,
and somebody's a liability, you're unevenly
yoked.
Yes.
The liability is a debt.
That's right.
And you're not supposed to have that.
A debt. Exactly.
You're supposed to credit his estate.
That's
by entering into his estate. You're like, I'm going to merge with you. This is the marriage. We're merging our families, ourselves, and I'm going to credit your account, basically, with all that I have. Right?
Let me add to this. I had some dialogue with some gentlemen before about this, and this is why this is very important. Because as a man, if you have daughters and you're allowing brothers to teach or push on the daughters' desire on that sex is marriage, you're taking on a liability not only from a spiritual aspect, but also from a physical aspect. Because now you just hold up your daughter, number one, and number two, what's happening is once you devalue her, how can you then come back and try to redeem her?
You can't.
You can't. You can't. You can't redeem nothing from nothing. You can't redeem her nothing. So anyway, I just wanted to throw that out there.
This is why it is a very important process. And this is why the marriage is not about love. That comes later on in the process.
Exactly.
This is why if me and Chauncey were walking down the street and say, this young man right here was my son, I would want to know that when somebody looked at him, they saw me. So I need to raise him in a proper status and standing, not only in the community, but with the Most High. That way, when people see him, they will think not only is he a worthy person as a man, but he's a worthy suitor as a husband.
Hallelujah.
Which then, you so silly. Then in return, when my daughters marry,
Exactly.
this is why when we got to be very careful. This is why I'm very careful about the names that we choose going into this walk, because people will put Bet and Ben and then some things on the end. Are you living up to that standard?
That's right. That's right. That's right.
Ben Yahshua, Ben Yah. Are you carrying yourself like a son of Yah? Are you carrying yourself like a daughter of Yah? Your value is zero, especially if you in some of these situations that give you zero balance.
Exactly.
Look, when you are in relationships that are carnally based and not spiritually based, you are in debt.
That's right. That's right.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Because now you are not operating in Torah. You are operating under that other law, which is the law of sin and death, which then puts you in debt, which makes you a debtor, which means that is why it's important not to be a whore.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
Because you're not a hoe, you're in debt.
That's right.
Yes, ma'am.
Does that mean also, to add to that, would you say, women having children out of wedlock, they become liabilities?
They become a liability.
Assets?
What do they bring to the relationship?
Wow.
I mean, it's a mumsar.
It's a mumsar. Exactly.
Right. First,
Penalty for that.
right.
Exactly.
That bastard is not allowed to enter into the temple at all
Not
for
only that,
generations.
not only that, but they're not allowed to. Why would you give a bastard your inheritance?
It can't happen.
This is why it's very important that when the fathers had daughters, they made sure that they groomed and they looked at the men that were trying to marry their daughters. I'm not about to let my daughter marry some joker off the street that don't want to get up off his rusty dust and work for a living. You know what I'm saying? And then on the other key, if I'm a man, I have sons. I don't want my son to marry some hoochie who's gonna cock her legs up open for any man that's out there. I mean, we have to get a Hebrew mindset and start understanding our customs, our cultures were very, very holy. They were set apart.
Do you understand? That's why when people read the book of Hosea, they don't really understand what the Most High was asking Hosea to do. He was telling Hosea to marry a whore.
Exactly.
And keep going back to it.
Yeah, don't put her away. Stay with her.
Exactly. Because this is how you do
Right.
it. Exactly. Exactly. This is how
That's
that's
right.
real.
That's
Exactly.
So we as a nation are a nation of whores, even though we're supposed to be a nation of priests and priestesses. Yes, ma'am.
So, along with what we're talking about, you know, the asset added into this estate of this man, right? The father gets, you know, obviously we're talking about him getting something as well. So this father is gonna receive something for the value of his daughter.
That's right,
Yes.
that's right,
He's
that's right.
done his due diligence, but also he's prepared to give something, either in her upbringing or something tangible to give to them. But that makes you think, if the father's not doing it, then the brother of the father did. And if the father and the priests were setting them up, right? They were like, remember Mordecai was teaching he was in the higher, just because it was their uncle, but he also had position, so he was training her up in the way, and so he could teach her and have something of value to go. So us taking on, or our men taking on women, because there is some distortion in the family function, we have to make sure that that same thing is happening, the same premise is happening. So if you're a man covering a sister or your sister or whatever,
That's right,
you
that's
make sure she's being raised up to status so she can add into
That's
the
right,
estate. She's
that's right, that's right.
just not willy-nilly, just doing whatever.
Exactly,
right?
because she's not just adding on to his house, she's adding on to the nation.
That's
Right, and if you
it.
don't do that, like you
Exactly,
said, it's a liability now.
Exactly.
Just like it's a liability to the father,
Exactly.
right? Now it's a liability to whoever's covering her. If you didn't train her up, or you don't know how to present with her, then now it's an asset that has gone to waste.
That's right, that's
So
right.
you take responsibility. So the headship of a father or brother or priesthood is taking on a lot of responsibility, which helps them do their job.
And let me say something real quick, Chauncey, before you go in there. That's why also it's very important when a man takes a wife, he gives her his name.
That's right, that's right, that's right.
I'm giving you my title, my honor. And so when I look at women that want their names hyphenated or don't want to carry their husband's name, then you really don't want a marriage.
Exactly, exactly.
You don't want to enter into contract. So there must be a flaw that you see that you still want to keep the name of someone who is giving you away. Because the Father gives you away.
That's right. That's
So
right.
that's kind of a rejection. That's because the acceptance and offering here is
Exactly.
okay. He made the offering. You're like, I accept, but
Exactly.
you know, Daddy, make sure you keep my name, right? And so there is a lot of conduct that's saying that I'm really not accepting this offer, right? And imagine if he did that to Christ when he knocks at the door and we
Yes.
accept, but.
That's
That's
exactly the
going to
thing.
be us where in the way of
Exactly.
fire something,
Right,
right?
exactly.
We have to completely accept with all our mind, our soul,
That's right,
and
that's
our
right,
mind.
that's right, that's right, that's right, that's right.
You want to do it?
No, go ahead.
Okay, so I want to touch this with y'all because a lot of us think that sex was marriage, but I want you to understand something. Covering a woman has nothing to do with the physical aspect. That's a westernized concept. Many men in Yahsara'al took women under their rules that they were not married to.
Thank you. From that standpoint.
From that standpoint, there was no physical intimacy. Okay? King David had over 300 and some odd wives. He didn't sleep with all them women. I don't want you to think he did. He did not sleep with all those women. He was binding up contracts between himself and nations to keep peace. Concubines also live under the house. Okay, so a wife is entitled to what? There are inalienable assets that a wife is entitled to. For most part, a wife comes into the marriage bringing a dowry. Okay? She also has been paid, or her father has been paid a bride price. She is covered under the inheritance not only of her father, but of this man. Okay? And her kids are not bastards. Her kids have a name. If my people who are called by my name, we are called by the name of our Father.
That's right.
And so are our kids. They are covered under our name.
That's right.
Now, understand this. She had a set apart status. When a woman enters into a contractual relationship with a man, she then becomes Kadesh.
She said apart. That's right.
She is set apart for whatever purpose she is supposed to do in that house.
Again, this is why there's a separation between the ideology with sex as marriage, because he can have sex with a concubine, he can have sex with a wife, he can have sex with a whore, but there's a difference in their obligations and their responsibilities and his contractual agreement.
Correct. Now, a concubine is covered under the same protections of a wife to an extent. First of all, a concubine comes into the relationship bringing nothing. She is not a liability. I want you to understand this. A concubine is not a liability. She is an asset. A concubine can be raised in status from a concubine to a wife at the discretion of her owner.
That's right.
Okay? Henceforth, Bilhah and Zilpah,
That's right.
they became concubines to Yaakov. They were still handmaidens, but they were his concubines. Their kids were afforded assets and protections.
That's right.
Okay? They had status under the covering of their father. Okay? But she did not have the same status as the wife. And that's very important. Go ahead.
Women, and I'm talking to the women here, and men listen to because it's still a woman, right? And your position is much up. When we as women are learning about the different sizes we're going to enter to, right? We're just women, and then one day we're like, oh, I think I'm going to get married. So we're pursuing that status. So you see the qualification we have to meet, right? Now we're just a woman, and we're great. We're in our household. We're sisters. We're daughters. But then we're like, yeah, I think marriage is a good thing. And your father, your mother, or whatever influence has been preparing you to meet that status. So if you don't quite meet that status at the apogee, right, the top point, you might meet the concubine status, which is because they don't bring anything into the marriage already. They get elevated. You can hear that position, right? So it's important for us coming back into the knowledge to be like, oh, we got to start figuring out this value that the Father placed on us, live to that standard of that value, so that we can continue to elevate. Just because He placed value on us from the day that we're born doesn't mean that's where we're staying. We're always elevating in Him, right?
Usually in Yahsara'al, the concubines weren't of us. I want you to understand that. They weren't, they were other nations. We did not treat our women like whores.
That's right. That's right.
Get this through your head, brothers. We do not treat the daughters of Zion like whores. When we enter with a daughter of Zion, we enter in with the understanding that something tangible is going to take place.
That's right. That's right.
There is going to be value exchanged.
That's right.
Understood? Now, I'm going to tell you something that a lot of y'all may not understand. Why? Okay. Why was it allowable for us as Yahsara'al to marry into Mizraim and into Cush, but not into Canaan?
And to who?
Canaan.
Canaan.
The relationship
Wasn't it a cursed
between
nation? Wasn't it a cursed nation? Or wasn't it a cursed nation? Canaan?
it's all about the relationship between Israel and these different nations.
Well,
the Most High.
two things come to my mind. Number one, when we look at Cush, they entered into covenants through a kingdom at one time. That's number one, I would say. And number two, Cush, when we went to war, they fought side by side with us.
Why did they fight by our side?
Because we were protecting them.
Cush came to save Israel
That's right.
from Assyria.
For Syria. Yeah.
Cush came and, okay, so the Cushites were some of the baddest sun guns in the land. Mizraim, and from a historical standpoint, Mizraim and Cush always battled amongst each other. They had trading dynasties. Henceforth, when you look at the Egyptian headpiece, you'll always see a snake on the head, and then there's a hawk. That represents two kingdoms. One represents northern Egypt, and the other one represents Cush. They always either fought or they were intertwined. Okay, I want you to understand why it wasn't bad for us to marry them into Mizraim, even though they held us captive. Somebody go to Genesis 41. I told you there were contracts between two or more parties.
Genesis 41.
Yes, I want to do the whole chapter, but that's gonna be,
That's been a whole nother lesson now.
yeah, that's a whole nother lesson. Okay, so I'm gonna break down Genesis 41 for you. So when Yosef had the dream, interpreted Pharaoh's dream. For him interpreting the dream, there was a contract made right here. Okay, so I'm gonna break it down. There was a contract made. Yosef was elevated from a slave to chief regent.
That's right.
He was the second in command only under Pharaoh. Okay? There was a covenant set. How do I know that there was a covenant set? Because Yosef received land, Goshen. He received jewelry. And the biggest thing was he received a wife. By him receiving a wife, he went into covenant or bonds with Mizraim. Okay? This is why, if you read further, I think it's in Isaiah, that the Most High considers Assyria to be his hand, Egypt to be his people.
That's right.
Because they mixed with us and they were used to carry out punishments towards us. Okay? This is why it was not bad. Now, when Miriam and when Miriam and Aaron got a hair in their butt for him marrying a Cushite because of the status thing, that's why one of the reasons why it was frowned upon by the Most High. Because there was already covenant set. And even if you read further into the story, if you read into Jubilees and Jasher, you'll understand what Moshe really was concerning the Cushites. But that's a research study, and I'm not going to go into it because it's not in the book. It's not in this one. So, contractual marriages are not just between people. They are between nations. We had a relationship with Mizraim. Why do you think when the Romans came in and the Greeks came in, we would run into Egypt as a safe haven? They held us captive for a while. Don't get it twisted. But they also covered us. They did more for us than Moab did. When we scattered, we came through Mizraim and went across the rivers of Cush into West Africa. And they covered our backs.
Wasn't it Abraham that left, I can't remember if he left Egypt or went through, but he left with servants.
So when Abraham went in,
It's another covenant.
there's another covenant with them.
he was
Right.
trying to make up, Pharaoh was trying to make up.
Yes,
to
for what
hit,
he did.
Oh, yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah,
Yes.
and even with the
Thank you.
Amalekites,
Yes,
we went through the
Exactly,
same
but
thing.
that's how they would fix things,
Yes,
by
by
giving,
giving.
by giving,
Yes,
you know what I'm
it
saying?
was.
And those things was making a covenant,
Right.
you know?
When,
It's covenant all, sorry about that, but it's covenant all over these
Right.
religions, all over the whole book.
that is why we say that this
All
is a
kinds of-
contractual book. This
This
is
is
a
what
law
it is.
book.
It's a law book. It's
This
a
is a
contract.
book of contracts. And if you look at it like that, then you can understand the actual
Thank you.
functionality
Thank you.
of the Hebrew Israelite.
When Negroes, excuse my French, when Negroes say there's no such thing as a contract, this book is a contract. They don't even get that. The whole book is a contract.
This is why the Most High, even when we made a contract in Genesis 15, when Abram became Abraham and made the contract and cut meat. You know I love this. I love the scripture. When he cut meat, it was a contract that bound his seed to the Most High. It was a marriage. It was actually a marriage. That's why we are the apple of his eye. It was that contract. Oh, he had the thing for us a long time before that, but he bound it through Abraham because Abraham left his land. He moved when he was commanded to. He kept his law, statutes, and commandments.
That's right. What that is, Tashon? Yes, a lot of people say that in ignorance. They say a lot of that stuff in ignorance. You're right. Con.
We have to operate in a functionality that we understand the marriage contract. Because what is Hamashiach coming back for?
Coming back for a bride.
He ain't coming back for some Negroes off the street to hang out and chill with. He is coming back for a bride.
Exactly. Exactly.
Come back for his betrothed.
Exactly. Exactly. It's a big
This
door.
is why it is so important for us when we go back into Deuteronomy. We have been defiled.
And we are not crying.
And we are damn sure not crying out.
Exactly.
We are not crying out. And this is why we don't, look, this is why the Americas are still running wreckshot over us. Because we as a people have put more emphasis in leadership that is leading us straight down the road to hell than going to the hills from which cometh our help. When the sheep are in the field and the wolves, bears, lions, grizzlies, tigers, possums, rats, roaches, or anything that come after them that don't have no business being there, the sheep will turn and cry out.
Right.
This alerts the shepherd.
Right.
Now, I want you to understand something. If a sheep didn't cry out, the shepherd didn't know where it was, it got bit, eaten, if it managed to escape, what happened? Why is it that if a woman doesn't cry out, she's stoned?
That's right.
If a sheep didn't cry out, it was damaged. So
Exactly.
it lost value.
There you go.
So
There you go.
so like when we get sheep, if a sheep gets attacked and it lives, but it's damaged too bad, and we decide we got to put it down, we put it down for a moral reason because we don't want it to suffer.
That's right.
Just like our women. Do you want your woman to be defiled and not be able to find a husband and to run up? So we put her down.
But not only that, you wouldn't give the Most High your lamb that been blemished. So why would you give your daughters to the Most High that's blemished? It's the same concept. It's the same concepts over and over.
We don't understand the importance of why, and I'm on these brothers about this because it's our fault, really. That we have, yes, ma'am.
Oh, what did you say?
Go ahead.
Okay, so we're reading, because we're reading about defilement in this particular verse, 24, 25, 26, really about this woman that's betrothed and someone forces and takes
That's
an
right,
aggressive move. Guys, what is that called today?
Rape.
Okay, so when we talk about that, that's very sensitive. There's a lot of victim mentality. It's a lot to recover from. There's that whole conversation. What men go around claiming they raped a woman
Nah.
and are excited about it or willing to say it out loud?
Donald
The
Trump.
shame, right? Usually that's why they're put to death, because you're not gonna get to talk about it.
Exactly.
But the fact that today we have that going rampant, not just in the real world, but in the spiritual sense, what's going on with our women. There's men ravishing and not, I wouldn't say, well, raping too, but but this concept is on the same caliber as rape or some abuse. And so when we looked at that word last week, defile, I kept thinking, why is it like an abuser? And I was like, oh, if you're committing an abuse, then that would be you're the abuser. Our men, that's why the men would go and say, man, we've been doing some mess. We've been the abuser of Israel. And so imagine when a father hears his daughter's been abused. So we say defilement, it doesn't impact us. But when a father, he's out for blood. Right? And that's why there's blood to be shed.
But also what goes with that is the fact that if we look at 24, the woman, she was a willing participant.
Right.
So when we look at us today, we're willing participants in this. So
He's like,
so that's what I got to throw on both of them because you're not crying out.
No,
Exactly. There's no
you
crying
know,
out.
you wanted that.
You want exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
You can't.
Because remember, you were promised. So if we the bride of Hamashiach, we should be crying out.
Right.
You know what I'm
So
saying?
that he can go get the
So
abuser.
exactly.
Right, and we're not crying out.
Exactly.
So what we're saying basically is, as Yahsara'al, we should be crying out to the Most High. And since we're not crying out, we're saying, okay, we're cool with
We're
it.
cool with it.
Yeah, you agree with the acquiescence.
Yeah, you know,
Even in fear.
yeah, even if
Fear
it.
is not good. So he can hear because he sends the refuge of that. Right? We cry out for our refuge. I mean, and we're talking about physical relationships, we're talking about the spiritual concept, but we also are talking about the exile we're in and the contract that we're in that is against our betrothal. And we're not crying out and trying to separate, run, scream, whatever.
But it's not by sheer coincidence that these people have done this because they studied these records before they gave it to us.
Yeah.
They studied our records. They had to separate us from it, right? And then they indoctrinated us. Then they gave it back to us. It's calculated. It's very calculated.
That is why we need to take our book back. We need to tell all them people that don't look like us, don't study like us, don't walk like us, give us back our book.
Sit down somewhere.
You keep your Talmud, give us back our book, let us interpret it for ourselves, and let us walk according to that rule. But we're so comfortable with being defiled. Christianity is a defilement
That's right.
because it teaches us to worship other gods.
That's right. That's right. Or it don't matter.
Look, and you can't say that the God of Yahsara'al is that same God of Christianity. And the reason why you can't, because there's too many things that are different. If the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, or Abraham, Yitzhak, and Yaakov said, hey, check this out, don't eat that pig. He meant that.
That's right.
Paul says.
Yeah, so no, they'll bust out and say, well, in Acts it says that when Peter had the vision and there was all them luscious, tender morsels of food on that sheet that you could eat whatever it is you want to eat because Scripture says that, and that's not what the Scripture was saying. It explains what it says. This is why Christianity is dangerous. Preachers will not break down script. They teach off of emotion. So they'll take one verse and they will loop a message into one or two verses, which is causing damnation and destruction to our people. When if you really went into that scripture, you will then realize that he was comparing the animals to Cornelius. And Cornelius, if you really want to know the truth, was a Hebrew Israelite. Because don't forget, when the Greeks and the Romans conquered, the men of those lands were required to serve in the army. And then not only were they forced to serve in the army, but they were given Greek and Roman names. Cornelius had a paradigm shift and was trying to go back to who he was. But in that scripture, it breaks it down. It's talking about people. Don't say what I say is clean is unclean.
Hallelujah.
That's right. That's right.
And he only looked at Yahsara'al as being clean.
That's right.
So basically, Cornelius was Hellenized.
That's right. That's all there was, a head of nine. When people talk about how Shaul went to the Gentiles, they don't realize that those were Hellenized Jews.
Right.
You know, he didn't just go talk to some Gentiles, some random other nation. That wasn't what he did.
That's why he was telling them, don't forsake the natural branches.
Exactly.
Because it's in the natural branch. If he got rid of the natural branch, what you think he's gonna get to do to you when you grafted in?
That's right.
You ain't even got weight. You are being held on by tape. Do y'all understand that? These folks that are grafted in to this belief are being held on by tape. What was Levi's function?
To cleanse Yahsara'al.
What was Levi? Okay, that's one of the functions. But Levi, his ghetto name or his government name was Lawa. What was Lawa's actual function? He was a tent peg. He was what fastened Yah to the people.
Uphold the law.
And we walk in the same spirit of Levi. We function in the way of connecting the Most High Yah to the nations.
That's right.
But not only that, we operate in the spirit of Yahudah, because not only are we going to fasten them to the nations, but we also are going to have rulership.
That's right.
We will have kingship, because we're going to act as a royal priesthood. Khan? Okay, so earlier in my statement, I said a wife was what? Kodesh, correct? What does the word Kodesh mean? Set apart. So in English, we would say holy. But do you know that that word Kodesh also has a double function? I'm going to show the brothers first so they can see this.
Okay. Root to the part. Wow. Okay.
What else is Kodesh?
As far as the day?
Yeah. Okay. So if a bride is set apart, she is Kodesh. But a whore
Set aside.
is Kodesh. And it don't mean holy.
Because you can set apart something, you can set some aside.
So everything in this house, my wife and I set apart. But everything that we took and put out on the street as trash was set aside. You can be Kodesh and set apart for the purposes of the use of the Most High. Or you can be a Kodesh and set aside to be in the lake of fire. Let's see. I'm going to spell that word. Oh, shoot. Look at this. The word is, how you spell it, Ladaya? Kodesh. First letter.
I don't know what you call the first one, but that's the water.
Qua,
The
Dalit,
yeah, and the
Shin.
what's this for? Holy or
Kodesh.
is this for holy?
Yes.
It's
Or set
Set apart. That's for set apart.
It's
Set
set
apart.
apart.
one that's notated for the prostitute or whore.
The one notating towards the prostitute or whore. I know there's an added,
Yeah, so.
there's an added, this is just a root.
Yeah.
So the word whore and the word holy have the same root. Now, the whore, there are a couple other letters added at the end, but at the root of the word, it means to be moved or to be set aside. Either set aside or set apart. But both of them are in that vein. So the word, okay, so for the prostitute, you would basically just add a hey to the end of it. So you would say Kadesh,
It's Padasha.
Kadasha,
That's set aside.
set aside.
Set
So
aside.
you could be Kodesh
You could be
Set
Kadasha.
apart
or Kadasha,
Yeah.
To be
set aside.
unto Yah,
Right,
or set aside.
Kadasha.
For destruction.
Yeah,
Yeah, for destruction.
destruction, that's good. I thought I wrote it down.
So basically, it's a hey, or to behold something added to that. So it's something that's special. It's something that is special, or something set aside for a special purpose or function. So my wife is set apart because she has a special purpose and function in my life.
Hallelujah.
You better say that, bro. While you're looking at her.
Hallelujah.
Hey.
Tell them, honey.
Beautiful.
But them that I used to mess with, they were set apart. I mean, set aside because they had no value. The whore has no value at all in Yahsara'al. There's only one purpose for the whore.
This is why the Most High says, there shall not be no
Whores.
daughters of Zion. This is why all the women in Zion had covenants. It was covered by father, by uncle, by husband, by elder, by brother. They just didn't want, and like I said last week, it was given in Israel that when a man took on a wife that she was a virgin. It was given. It was not debatable. It wasn't something argued over.
So the word virginity has no sexual content.
Yes.
So it doesn't mean that you can be a virgin and be married. It just means that you're a woman of working age. But it is an understood fact inside of Yahsara'al that the women are virtuous.
That's right. That's
Virtuous.
exactly.
It's just yes, go ahead.
Talking about a lot of women stuff, so I got a lot to say. But so when we look at a woman, we talked about this a while ago, right? Remember we kept saying the woman is the field, right? Or a piece of land, aka a piece of property. We're talking about a state, so you're adding to the state. She's a piece of property, and don't take that the wrong way. If you know, it's not a bad thing. But just let's put them two side by side. Woman, aka also known as property. So when a woman becomes the status of a whore, what would that look like if you had property? If you had a piece of land and it was just being used in every way,
Exactly.
right? Like with no bounds,
That means my neighbor will come put his seeds in there when he want to.
and it's breaking laws,
Exactly,
and then
exactly.
people are killing people. There's all kinds of liabilities taking place on there,
Exactly.
and it's problematic. Diseases happening. No one knows what's going on.
It's not fertile.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
But
Because
if it's bound by contract, definitely by our law, by
Yeah.
Torah, now it's gonna give its complete fruit of what it's supposed to do, which is to yield, right? That whatever it may yield for that home or whoever the owner is for whatever service he wants to provide. Not always children, guys, because some men already had children. They're adding, like we talked about this, the brother and I. David had a woman come into the house, right, that he took under his household. It wasn't to have more children, it was in his old age to keep him warm.
Warm,
It wasn't because
exactly.
he was sleeping with her, he needed youth around
Exactly,
him.
exactly,
Right, and he
exactly.
got right up there in age, so for whatever service that this owner wants for his property, with quotation marks, for those that can see me, that's important to think of. So when the land is always valuable, it's always an asset. It was created with value, right? It was, but it's how it's treated and how it's allowed to be treated. Now land doesn't get up and say nothing, like don't do this to me, it just doesn't yield anymore, right? That's how it reacts. But if there's lawful things going to it, it will spring up fruit. That's the covering, but also as the status of a woman or the land itself. What are you gonna yield? So that makes you protect yourself. Like, I have this value, I need to show this value.
Think of that though. Think of that. If the land is modeled after, if the woman is modeled after land, and then there's all these other gentlemen putting his seed into that land, then there's confusion because now he can say, well, hold on, that's my seed. No, that's my fruit. No, that's my fruit.
Oh, I don't know who fruit it is.
I don't know who
They got war and bloodshed.
Yeah, exactly. You know.
And if a woman does not know whose seed
Right, she's carrying.
she's carrying, she's worse than a whore.
Right, it's amazing. Help us, y'all.
This is why it is important to be an asset. Look, now there were certain freedoms rendered to men in our culture, and I don't want to go into this because this part is push button and hot. There were certain freedoms rendered to men. Yes, ma'am.
Just want to add to what you were saying earlier. You know, today, that's why we hear our women say when they learn that they are become pregnant and they have been messing around with one or two guys, and then once they realize they're pregnant, like, I really don't know who the father could be. And so that's why we end up having these
DNA test.
DNA test is done because she really don't know if it could have been his or the other person. You know, allowing this person to come into her property, her field, and not knowing. And that's called confusion. You know, of course, people suffer and get killed behind that.
And the Most High is not the author of confusion.
Come on.
So over his land, do you think we are all his property? So over his land, do you think he wants to have jurisdictional battles over his property? And when a woman whores herself out, it becomes a jurisdictional issue. Because the land doesn't just hold topical rights, it also holds mineral and surface rights and bottom rights.
Well, as me, we're asking ourselves a question. If I have all these inheritance, right, and I want to give out to my seed, why would I give my inheritance to Brother Levi if Brother Levi been sleeping with the same sister? Why would you do that? You know. So again, this is why this stuff is important.
You want to be able to say when a man owns a piece of property, and I'm not calling women property in the bad sense. You're an asset.
That's right.
You are the most important asset that we have on this earth is you.
That's right.
Because you teach us how we need to surrender ourselves to the Most High.
That's right. That's right.
You teach us how we should function concerning those things that are valuable to the Most High.
That's right.
You teach us how the Most High should deal with us.
That's right.
If that does not make sense.
Somebody said a wife is private property.
Oh yeah, she's definitely private.
Private property.
It's private. It's a two-party agreement.
That's what's
You want
up.
to
Well,
say that right?
actually,
That's right. That's
actually,
right.
let me clarify this. Let me clarify this. There are in a marriage. There's no two-party contracts in Israel. I want to let you know that right now.
There's none in any way.
Right, but especially in Yahsara'al.
He belongs
There
to
are-
me and
there-
I belong to him.
That's
only.
right. That's right.
Well, no, there are three-party contracts. And I want you to understand, every contract is between the two people, and it is governed by Yah,
Amen.
Or whoever you let go.
or whoever you let govern.
Well, that's why the government has created a third-party contract. Everything is mirrored off the Torah, off the Bible. Everything.
I want y'all to look at something else. I want you to look at something else before we break this down, because we're like an hour and 14 minutes in. Before we close on this subject, I want you to really look at this in depth. You got to go back and read it. You got to read Genesis. Genesis is a beautiful contractual statement, and it shows you how marriages are established. But I want you to understand this. When we go into contract with another party, Yah is watching the contract to make sure we deal favorable with our brothers and our sisters. That is why he tells us not to have any liens. That's why in the Jubilee year, all debts
That's free.
are taken away. Because all slaves, if you have made yourself into a slave because you could not pay your debts, you are released and freed. There is remedy written into every contract. There is salvation or rescue or remedy should be written into every contract. That way, each party is protected
That's right. That's right.
in the contract. Now, I'm going to touch something. It is not against Hebraic law for a man to have more than one wife. Because if a man can take on the responsibilities for more than one wife, in Hebraic law through Torah, he is allowed to.
But it was not based on sex.
But it was not based on sex. It was based off of the liability. I mean, it was based off of assets. We were gaining assets. And I know women don't like that. That's my man. No, well, that's fine. And if you set up your contract in that way with your husband, yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry, I wanna, because, women, we do get that feeling like, oh, we're property, we're assets. But remember, we're studying a trust. And
It's a
in
trust.
assets are not the trustees, it's the grantor.
That's right.
So
Thank
the
you.
father gave us as assets in the trustee hand of our husband. He's not the grantor of us. The father is
Is the
the grantor.
grantor.
So he's not owning this asset, he's managing.
He's managing,
And
exactly.
if he's the manager appropriately, he has to answer to somebody.
Right.
Or he gets fired.
Exactly.
So when we say property and asset, we're still owned by the father.
Still owned by
We're
the
just
father.
managed by our submit.
Look, I told y'all last week. When I told y'all last week that if a man went back on his contract, the father had rights to redeem his child. You as a father are not going to sit there and watch your child be handled rough. I'm not going to let nobody whoop my kid's tail and not whoop mine too. He going to have to prove the fact that he can put these hands on me and her. Now, if I take that butt whooping, I don't want to hear nothing at the picnic. Talking about, you remember when Tyrone put them hands on you, daddy? I was fighting for your honor. And that's why when a woman is chosen by a man, she needs to bring this joker home and let her dad examine this dude.
It's just so sad now. There isn't any fathers in the home. My
Again.
dad, he passed when I was 6, so that was
But now that was your uncle should have supposed to take over now.
they didn't. It's amazing that no man has stood up
Yes.
in my world, not even my sister's
Let's
father.
let's dissect this. Let's dissect this for a second. Let's say your father died, right?
He did.
There's scriptures that says when a woman, when her husband passes, let's say she wanted to get more, she wanted to get married again. She could have if her husband passed.
Right.
Let's say that hypothetically, let's say she didn't even have any kids. We know there was a law in the scriptures. This man could have had he could have had a wife already. So by that being his brother's wife, and they didn't have any children,
Right.
he was obligated to do that.
He
for-
didn't have any brothers. I'm just
I'm-
saying.
what I'm saying, I'm just laying out the whole concept. It was based on protection.
I'm going to mess you women up. All these women talking about, I want a Boaz. You know Boaz had wives?
More than
Ruth.
you said? Okay, so I get that, but
So if you read in the scripture and it talks about Boaz's damsels were out in the field gathering wheat, the church read right past that. There was somebody out there gathering wheat, and he was like, go in there and let her pick up a little bit more. Don't bother her when she's gleaning. But they'll read past chapter 3 and 4. Oh, I want a Boaz. Well, Nick wrote Boaz had other people under his roof than just Ruth.
I tell sisters all the time. and again, I'm like the brother. Whether you monogamous or polygamous, that's long as it's holy. That's all it's about. But a lot of sisters don't look at the reality of what this book is about. This book is about covering and protecting Israel. It's not about sex. We have a perverted mindset in Western ideology, number one. Then we have a lot of Hebrew Israelite brothers that just want a whole bunch of coochie without responsibility.
Say that again.
They just want a whole bunch of coochie without
You're
responsibility.
from New Orleans, Louisiana.
That's right. So this is my point. If we take every sister and we give her a husband, they're gonna be still sisters gonna be short because there's not enough men. Then if you factor in the fact that there's whether you look at men on whatever they're doing erroneously or what have you, let's look at the sisters. There's a lot of sisters that are not fit to be. This is what this is about being a bride. There's a lot of sisters that are not fit to be brides. So men should. It's not only women should make a wise choice. But men are making wise choices. They're looking. You know what I'm saying? Men are really getting back to say, you know what, man? I've either hold out a lot of women in my lives, or all I have been seeing around me is a whole bunch of whores. So I want to make sure that I'm protecting my assets. My wife, me and my wife, we building something together. And I tell my wife openly, she'll tell you this here. It's not a sister gonna come to me and just cock her legs over some coochie. I got a wife. But if somebody was to ever talk to me about stuff like that, it would have to be building something logical, something that was going to benefit the nation, not my ego. I have enough taking care of my own wife.
And you'll see that a lot of these brothers that are pushing the sexist marriage often are young.
Young.
They got a lot of energy, and they got a lot of testosterone and a lot of
And broke.
yeah, and most of and
broke.
And what we call it, ain't got a window, I mean, a pot to piss in and a window to throw it out.
Right. I was thinking about what she was talking about, the father. That's why I went back to, and then you went into the topic again. But I'm saying a lot of us women did not have fathers, and that is the manifestation of the sin of Yahsara'al, because everything has been broken down and separated and divided. And when she was talking about how the father, and you said it, that's where I was at, he would come back and gain his daughter back, or snatch her back to protect her, to have her be regrouped. A lot of us have not been.
That's right.
And that's, I'm trying not to get emotional, but that's the part where even my daughter, her father wasn't in her world. He's not a good person. I'll say it like that.
Okay.
So when she went through a terrible marriage, a horrific marriage, she wouldn't even allow me to come in and, you know, because I wanted to, but it wasn't my place. But there was no man in our world to do that.
But this is why it is important that as we come into this truth, we allow sisters a period of healing.
That's right.
The first thing, if you in this walk and you just coming into this walk, you don't need no damn wife. Let me just put it out here. Dudes, you just coming in this walk, you don't need no damn wife. And sisters, you coming in this walk, you don't need no damn husband.
Get healed and get
Right. The first thing you need to do is get healed. The first thing you need to marry is the Most High.
That's right.
You need to learn how to be a child.
You learn how to be a daughter first.
There it is.
And so you need to work your way up the progressions before you ever get ready to marry.
That's right.
Now, if you had the luxury of being raised in this truth, then people are already looking out for you.
That's right.
And have already established covenants
For you.
for you and got people lined out for you. But these women right now, I'm serious, a lot of daughters of Zion want a dang husband, and that's all they want. Oh, I need a covering.
No.
If you got a righteous elder
That's right.
or a righteous teacher,
That's right.
he shall be your covering.
That's right.
When I've talked to Brother Chauncey about this. Me personally, when I look at the landscape of, I'm talking about just the men of Israel, in my opinion, and I'm probably wrong in everything I'm about to say, but to me, in my opinion, 90% of these brothers are wicked. 90%. And we got a whole bunch of sisters out there that need covering.
Let me add to that, because I want to touch on what the sister said, and also touch on what the brother Levi said.
Tell him a lot.
Sister, it's not just the sisters are broken and stuff.
We broke.
The men are broken.
And it starts with the men.
It starts with, and if the men cannot be healed, I have sisters tell me all the time how they're broken and stuff like that. As a elder, as a brother, as a teacher, as a provider, as a father, if I can't put my wounds aside and help you, I'm no good. As a priest, that's my job. That's my job. The problem with brothers is they don't know how to put themselves second. They want to put themselves first. They want to put themselves first. And again, when you're dealing with the Father, I tell you what, let's get Leviticus 21 right fast. I don't want the Most High mad with me for defiling His daughters. I don't want the Most High mad with me for tearing down the land, because again, that's what I'm as I defile the land, because the sisters of the land, I'm defiling the land. I don't want to. That's why we was kicked out of the physical land for defiling it. I don't want that. You know what I'm saying? So men have to be able to deal with themselves first. If the men cannot deal with themselves first, how can we then? Because we were preached to heal the nation, right?
And how is he going to heal the land? So when you think about that one statement in 2 Chronicles, he's talking, if my people who are called by my name would humble themselves and pray, seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, I will hear their voice.
And heal their land.
And heal
Who's
their
the
land.
land?
Who's the land?
The women.
Who's the women?
So he's telling them damn ignorant men, cry out.
He said there should be no more barren. He's not talking about the land,
It's-
he's
hold on,
talking about the men, he's talking about the women.
Exactly. It's not.
So they can be
It's not the land barren.
It is.
It's not the land
It
barren.
is barren at this time. It is.
It all starts with repentance. It all starts
There
with
it
accountability.
is.
Amongst the men, like 1 Kings 8:47, it all starts with accountability. The
That's
men
right.
have to accept accountability for our sins and our
Exactly.
mistakes. Because a lot of these brothers, I see them teaching and stuff like that, and I communicate with a lot of brothers on Facebook, and a lot of them, I see them clear as day. They don't take accountability for nothing.
They take
don't
all
take
they
accountability.
want is a
They
name
want
and
to
no
point
responsibility.
fingers. They want to point fingers like Adam did. And I'm not, listen, if I was Adam, I probably would have ate the tree. I don't know. I probably would have did I'm just saying. It's not me pointing fingers, but I'm saying, just like Adam pointed fingers at Eve. He low-key tried to blame Eve. These brothers do the same thing. They don't
That's
take
right.
accountability.
Con.
Your responsibility as a man is to take the responsibility for your actions.
The women will follow.
Hold on. You can't manage as a man. I mean, if you a man, you should be managing, right?
You have to take responsibility. And that's why I always tell people, man, look, I have not been the best husband. I have not been the best father. I have not been the best friend. But my thing is, I stay before y'all. Fix this.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
Fix this broken vessel.
Humble.
Because if you don't fix me, how am I going to be responsible for what you... Okay, I shared this with a brother, then I'm going to let you go to Leviticus. I shared this with a brother the other day. When Yahsara'al went to the wedding feast, and they were out of wine, what did he tell them to do? I'm about to...
Empty out the...
He didn't say empty.
He said, fill the pots with water.
That's right.
How would he know that the pots were empty?
Because they ran out.
No.
They used it to
No, they
wash
use it for the wash your feet.
and to wash the bride and the
And
groom.
all
The-
that. But because it was empty, it was gone.
But the statement is that the Most High didn't get something that was full. He needs something that is empty to put himself into.
Amen.
The miracle wasn't the water. The miracle was that he got the empty vessel. Everybody focused on him turning the water into wine, and that wasn't a miracle. The miracle was go fill the empty vessels. He didn't fill the empty vessels. That's what people don't understand. He didn't fill the empty vessel. He sent the men to go fill the empty vessel.
That's right. That's right.
And then he fixed it.
Yes, he did. He changed it.
He changed the blessing.
That's good.
The miracle is not in the filling.
That's right.
Right.
It's empty. That's right.
Hallelujah.
Go to Leviticus.
Let's go to Leviticus and
Oh,
then
go
we'll
ahead.
talk. Let's get Leviticus. Leviticus 21. Leviticus 21, and then just read on down, Just read on down.
Leviticus 21, verse 1. And the Most High said unto Moshe, Speak unto the priests, the sons of Aaron, and say unto them, There shall none be defiled for the dead among his people, but for his king that is near unto him, that is, for his mother, and for his father, and for his son, and for his daughter, and for his brother, and for his sister, a virgin, that is nigh unto him.
So hold on. So a brother can cover his sister as long as she's a virgin. I just want to edify that with the scripture right fast. Go ahead, Art.
Which hath had no husband, for her may he be defiled.
Okay, now let's jump down because we want to understand that the daughters of Zion, if we're looking at it from a perspective of a father, let's look at it from the daughters of Zion being the daughters of the Most High as well. So let's jump down to verse 9 and read on down.
Leviticus 21 and 9. And the daughter of any priest, if she profane herself by playing the whore, she profane her father.
So this is why it's very important that the daughters of Zion do not, have the bad reputation of being whores. Not only for their earthly father, but for their heavenly father. Right? Go ahead.
I'm gonna start that verse over.
Go ahead.
And the daughter of any priest, if she profane herself by playing the whore, she profane her father, she shall be burnt with fire.
Not stoned.
Burnt with fire. Because it's a priest.
Yeah, the prelude to the lake
of fire. That's why I went there. That's it. I just want to get that. I just want to get that right fast.
I was gonna say to add on to the sister, she was talking about how there wasn't a father in place, and the uncle wasn't able to be there because he had a brother, and there's not a position of the man, right? So going back to earlier, the woman equals land, right? So if you have this land that has been defiled, they jump ship, and it's just sitting there. Like if you ever owned land or had land, then you just abandon it. It's just growing weeds. It's not fertile. It's just like people are squatting on it. Literally, these brothers are squatting on the land, and then it's just there, and it's completely. When someone comes and looks at it, they're like, "Oh, that's not worth anything," and that's usually what the women feel. We're not worth anything because I've been squatted on, I have all this stuff and whatever. But if you own property, right? Most people don't go buy the new property, right? No property is really new, right? They go, and if it's not of standard or it's not the best grade, what do? You restore it.
Right.
Right? You don't refurbish it, but that's not a good word if you know legally, but you restore it. And have you ever seen people flip houses and it's better than it ever was before? You can restore a property better than it ever was, like when you found it. So the old owner is like, man, like it got a whole theme park on it, it's yielding so much. That's my land. No, it's too late. You abandoned shit. So now this new owner has now put the value back into it. And so when we have brothers or fathers coming back to get their daughter or the woman and say, man, you've been defiled, the property has been devalued, you didn't lose your value. It's my job. I'm going to cover you. They're not going to sleep with you. They're going to provide a safe space. And they're going to work on getting this non-yielding ground to now yield. They're going to get your health right. They're going to get your spirit right. They're going to protect it. They're going to put up, no one's squatting here no more. So they put up gates. Leave this thing alone. So that's the job of our, I'm sorry, I'm passionate about it because women, we see sisters, they don't know what to do after they've been defiled before they come in this truth, let alone in this truth. And they're like, what do we do now? It's up to our leaders and our brothers to say, you know what? Enough is enough. We're going to restore this. And when we put our work to restore this, I wish you would.
That's right.
And it's not a cosmetic fix. See, this is the thing.
Yes.
Right, we're not doing cosmetic fixes. We are tearing out old stuff and replacing those things that have been broken. How are we replacing them? Through the word. So when we take on projects in Yahsara'al, I know people want us to build homes and stuff, but let's build our sisters first.
That's right.
We can't build
The true land.
Let's build a real land. My responsibility first is to you. That's why I have sisters that reach out, that I cover, because I understand the importance
That's right.
of covering people. Because the fact of the matter is, we are all a step away from being out.
Repeat that again.
We are all a step away from being out.
Hold on. Me and my wife just talked about this on our way here. Did we just say that? We all once. What did you just say?
Yeah.
We, in the car, we said this. You know, and if we're not taking our resources and putting them together and helping each other, then again, we're doing each other no good. We're doing each other no good.
The job is to be an asset.
That's right.
We don't want to be liabilities on anybody.
That's right.
And so it's not Torah. If you find yourself in a position of an asset, you're in the right position.
Right.
But if you find yourself in the position of a liability, then you are not walking in Torah.
That's right.
And so then you need to look at yourself and go into the process of being washed.
That's right.
Look, I was an asset. I ripped down walls. That was and I took pride in it. I was a chief hoe
That's right.
before all this extra weight and baggage.
You were a liability.
You know, I was a hoe. I'm gonna call it exactly what it was. I was a liability.
He was a liability.
Oh, that other.
Yeah.
Funny.
You know, I was set, and I was running down a road that was going to lead me to destruction. But when I went before the Most High, when I'd had enough is enough, I had prayed to the Most High, and I said, Yah, I know I have a calling on my life. I was still in the church. I had already left out of the church once, and I had been preaching, and I was like, look, I ain't no good. Me and my wife broke up. We were divorced, going through a divorce. I ain't no good. I'm sleeping around with everything. You know, I'm sleeping around with men's wives, daughters, sisters. I need to be fixed. And if you want me to come back to you, send me a wife. And y'all was so silly. I mean, y'all do stuff that'll have you on the floor laughing. When you think about it, he uses the simple things of the world to confound the wise.
right.
He sent my wife to me on my 35th birthday. Okay, you want a gift? I got a gift for you. And I don't spend no time away from her because I know that's my portion. And so, and when I first got it, I tried to be right, and I still messed up. I didn't provide for her the way that I should have, but I was slaving, trying to make it right for her.
Exactly.
But she was an asset to me.
You know what a lot of sisters don't know, and this is why it's very imperative that you sit down and you talk openly with the man, your husband or whatever. Because like this brother's testimony, I had the same testimony. I literally broke down and cried to a coworker. Cried like a baby. And the coworker was like, man, I wish I had that gift that I could talk to women and get women like that. I said, dude, you don't want that gift. That's not a gift. You don't want that. That's ooh, you're looking for problems, bro.
The gift of gab is a nightmare.
You know, and again, that's why me and this brother have gotten so close because we talk openly. You know what I'm saying? And this young brother right here too. You know, because again, a lot of sisters and a lot of brothers just really don't understand what each one of us go through. So we have to be able to talk to one another. You know.
And the thing is, look, we know that the Most High made our women the most beautiful on the planet.
Oh yes.
The daughters of Zion are gorgeous. But I also know that look, man, this is very important to me because I cover females. And my wife understands that I'm a covering to females. And she has no problem with it. Because she understands one thing. I am held accountable.
That's right.
Plus, another thing, I would be food out there for them dogs if I got outside of my place. I try to hold myself to a standard because my father is a standard bearer. The Most High is a standard bearer. Y'all don't understand this, man. The Most High has a standard.
Yes.
And this is why I left the church. Because if you can't keep with a standard, how can you say you his?
That's right.
If you can't hold on to the standard. This is the standard. And if you running around here saying, I can't keep the law, statutes, and commandments, then you don't want the standard.
That's right.
Does that make sense?
That's right.
Do you know in the Army, the standard bearer was the most prestigious role in the Army? Because the standard bearer didn't carry a weapon. The standard was his weapon. So he walked out on the battlefield with a flag. You shooting arrows, everybody else got shields and armor, and the standard bearer is out there with a flag. Here I am, shoot me. We're supposed to be standard bearers in this thing. We are supposed to hold on to this standard, which is his law, statutes, and commandments. I'm about to close. We ain't finished with this. I guess we'll go into week 3 because we definitely ain't finished with this.
Come.
So all those are the sound of this video or of, this lesson in class for the sake of women, So if you're coming in or you are, already in and there's that place that the property needs to be revalued, right? There's going to be a reevaluation of the property. That takes time with the Father, the Heavenly Father, and then find a husbandry, right? A man of husbandry. Find a caretaker, the keeper of the garden, if you will, to protect. And if there's a sign of a bad shepherd or a bad protecting, they're trying to prostitute the land out of it, then you run. You cry out. Because it's our job to make sure we work on our own salvation, right? And you still have to work out your own stuff, but you need that safety, you need that safe haven, right? And you can say, no, this is not appropriate for me, right? And then hopefully others will speak on that behalf for you. For our men, if you've taken up that role to restore the property, right? You're restoring the property, you're providing the safe haven so that no one else defiles that or squats on that land, right? You restore it, you put all your energy and effort into it, it'll yield you fruit as well. But it doesn't mean that you abuse it either, right?
When a man abuses a woman, when a man treats a woman unrighteously, he denied the faith.
That's right.
That's right. So that's when the woman needs to cry out because she has to go to somebody. She
Exactly.
can't go to her husband, right?
But like the Ox said, Brother Yirmiyahu said, if you know your daughter Zion first, you're not seeking a husband. That's the problem with the daughters of Zion. Stop seeking a husband. Seek the Most High. And he will deliver what you need. He'll deliver either a moray or elder or a brother or a husband. He know what you need. But if you're looking for a husband, you might not even be ready for wife status. You're not even, you may need to be groomed. You know what I'm saying? You may need to be pruned.
You bypassing him.
You bypassing him.
That's fine.
Yes.
Right.
Exactly.
Find the status from you need to be in that status already.
Exactly.
Your wife already.
The kingdom first.
The kingdom first. And that's what we miss.
That's right.
We so busy seeking some thighs,
That's right.
some breasts, some chest
Some
muscles.
muscles.
Yeah, oh, he got good hair. He gonna make pretty babies. He got good hair.
That's why a lot of times I feel like I spoke to I don't know the guy about this whatever, but when it comes to whether it's a man or a woman, when a man bases his wants of a woman based on solely her looks, and he doesn't really know her, and he attains her, something's gonna happen. The Most High deals with us on every level.
That's right. That's
so
right.
that's gonna manifest itself in a negative way.
In a long run.
And the
That's
same
right.
thing for the women.
And women, you gotta stop looking. If you don't have kids, I know it is a mandate for you to be fruitful and multiply, but it's not always talking about children.
The natural. Yeah.
When you multiply, you can multiply into your man. Look, I hate to use carnal analogies, but when Michelle Obama ran up against Barack Obama, do you think When she looked at him, she said, that girl right there gonna be the president of the United States. But she worked at him, and she helped elevate that man.
That's right.
He ain't do it all on his own. Everything that I am ain't because I did it.
That's right.
Man, that woman right there filling out job applications for me and making sure that making sure that I passed my last classes so I could get out of college. Yeah. That woman right there, she was there when I went to the same human anatomy professor for 3 semesters. That joker failed me because he thought I wanted his wife. And me and her had just been friends before he ever met her. But I wouldn't leave. That joker right there set me up. She's like, nah, this is what this joker's doing to you. This is what you need to study right here. I walked out of that class. Matter of fact, I was so sure that I passed the test. That last test I took to get out of that man's class, I only had 1 class that semester. I was sure I passed the test because I walked out that man's class, gave him a hug, got in my car and drove to Austin and went job searching the next day. I hadn't even received a grade yet, but I knew I passed it. And this is what we need from our sisters. I don't need no man. I don't need to raise no damn child. I don't need to raise a man. You're not raising a man when you're enriching him.
When they do that, they're cursing themselves.
Yes!
You are judged by the fruit of everything that you say. So when you say something like that, the Most High hears it, you're like, oh, okay. Unless you repent from that, you're cursing yourself.
I don't need no man. So when a man don't come your way, you wonder why you end up with these busters.
That's right.
Because you ain't got a man. Because you don't need one.
That's right. That's right.
All I need a man for is this. And that's all you going to get. Because the Most High going to listen to you.
Exactly.
What you really need is a relationship with him.
That's right.
What you need is a relationship with him. And you need to say, Most High, when you restore me to the point to where I can take on a relationship, I need you to send me a godly man.
That's right. That's right.
I need you to send me a godly man.
That's right.
One that's got your heart, or got your characteristics, or got your people's heart and mind.
That's right.
Bring it out, huh?
We don't need people in this thing that are running around running roughshod over our sisters. That is why I don't deal with everybody.
That's right.
And yes, oh yeah, in my mind, yeah, it's cool that, you know, if I got into a relationship and me and my wife sat down and talked about it, and if another female wanted to come into the relationship, she could. But I'm bound under this. This is what binds me and stops me from doing that. Because the law of the land tells me I can't. So first I'm responsible for the law of this land. I can't be righteous and be bound to a law in this land. You see what I'm saying? He's going to hold me accountable for it. Render what is to Caesar unto Caesar, and then render what's his unto him. Now, if the law of the land conflicts against him, then I'm going to have to keep him. And then I'll worry about my recompense there.
This is what I tell brothers and sisters. We had this discussion a few years back. In Israel, there's a lot of sisters that figure, well, I make more money, or are more educated, or what have you. The system has got us all discombobulated. Nobody knows how to play their role. Nobody wants to play their role. Everybody wants to play opposite. The men want to be women, and the women want to be men. You know, dealing with the marriage part. I don't run another man's house. I can't tell a man how to operate his house. My rule of thumb is, if you can't cover a sister spiritually, you shouldn't even be talking about first wife, letting on the second wife. As far as the land and whether the land, the governing body, it's not my choice to look at their laws, because their laws operate outside of Torah totally. Anyway. So, because again, when you understand contractual obligations, we're not even supposed to be in a marriage with the system from that point. So I just broken the father's law from that perspective either way if I want to go monogamous. If I were dealing with monogamy, you have just contracted with the state, so you're still wrong.
And you made
So you can't even make that justification with polygyny, because the law of the Most High says you shouldn't even have a marriage license anyway. So we have to be so before we get that depth in it, we have to understand what is a marriage. A marriage is bounded by contractual obligations, not sex.
Right.
It's a business. Now, in this business, there's something for something. If a man just trying to get him more wives just because he wants some coochie, he's foolish. A broke man chases women. The reason why I can do what I want to do is because I don't chase women. If I wanted a wife or a girlfriend or a concubine, I don't need my wife's permission. But I respect my wife, and I don't want my wife to ever feel that what she put into me is devalued, because my wife poured into me a lot. So if anything, if a woman cannot do what my wife did,
I don't need you.
I don't even need you. You're not even in a conversation.
You might as well have you really, if you can't sew into me like my wife has sewed into me, you might as well go away, because you just as bad as having pork lips.
Exactly. She left.
Real quick, I want to say something too. Like real quick, when you marry in the system, you make the government the god of your marriage.
There
That's
it
right.
is.
That he will be the judge of your marriage.
Right.
Right.
Well, what would happen if you divorce? What you got to do? You got to go to the courts, and they're gonna handle it. They're the god of your marriage.
Exactly.
And you're gonna have to pay. You're gonna have to pay into
them.
them
Exactly.
to get a divorce.
You gotta pay them to get married.
To get married.
But not
You're
only
gonna
that,
have to get-
everything going to reprobate. We going to probate. Your property going to probate.
Right, and then they tell you that you have to pay child support.
It's some
They put all
alimony,
this stuff,
all
alimony,
that.
all this. They are in charge of over your livelihood.
Exactly.
Look,
You
y'all.
said it, the Elohim of your marriage.
I
When
said
you
I
go
was.
there.
I said I was gonna get off of here about 45 minutes ago,
Huh?
and April, and my wife sitting up there looking at me because she told me, quit saying you about to be through, because every time you say you about to be through, I know it's about another
That's
hour.
right.
That's what
Info
James
John,
said.
it's a business contract.
Yeah, it's
That's
a
right.
business contract. Marriage is definitely a business, man.
That's right.
And we need to understand that we need to operate lawfully in our businesses.
Right.
If you can't run a business, you can't run a household. If you can't run a business, you
Wait a
can't
second.
run and have a marriage.
Thank you.
Because
Thank
a business
you.
is a marriage.
Alright.
If you don't know the first thing about how to administrate that thing, then you can't administer when things go in your marriage.
But that's where the word merger come from. It come from the word marriage. It's a merger. It's,
So run your
And when you-
business
and-
You'll
straight.
becoming one.
yes. And when you're doing business, they call it what? They call it intercourse.
Absolutely. When you meet the mind in business,
Yes.
it's intercourse between the two. So, it's funny because you're like, I can have intercourse with, no, but you need to make sure you know who you're meeting your mind with.
That's
She's
right.
about your business. He's about the business.
right.
What are we adding into as ladies and as wives? You don't have no aspiration, no goals, that's why there's no inheritance, there's no legacy. There's nothing sewed into the ground. So,
All
You
right.
better teach.
Well, hallelujah, y'all.
Hallelujah.
Y'all give y'all hand praise. Just
That's right. It's beautiful.
Kafria. Post in the chat. My name is Yemiyahu Ben Yahuda, and I am grateful for Malak for allowing me to go live on his page on YouTube. But if you've been blessed by our teaching, please go to my page and subscribe. We're trying to get this thing done in such a way where we can build the kingdom. Also, I don't like asking for money, but we go out on the road and we minister across the country. So if we've been a blessing to you, I don't ask for amounts. If the Most High has touched your heart from our teachings, you can cash app me. The administrator will put the cash app information in there. It's just $Yimmy Yahoo. And if you are on Lord PayPal, if you're on PayPal, you can link with it's well, the administrator will put that up there, but I think it's the Art Dallas on the Art DFW and PayPal. That's how you'll find us there. Any amount will help. We just thank you for really subscribing to this channel, subscribing to Malak's channel, and you know, we ask that if you are blessed, please go to my page and just subscribe, put your notifications on, because our job in this ministry is not only to feed the sheep here in Dallas. If you're in the Dallas-Fort Worth area and you don't have a place to worship, Monica, I need you to put the Kafri, I need you to put the email address to the ARC. It is the ARC DFW, and the ARC is spelled ARK DFW@gmail.com. If you don't have a place to worship here, and you're looking for a place, contact us through that link, or also hit me up on Facebook at Yemi Yahoo Ben Yahuda, or you can hit Brother Malak Ben Israel, Yahsara'al, sorry. You can hit us up. We'll get you here. We will get you here so that you can come and worship with us, because we definitely want to be a place or a refuge to people that are looking for a place. Like I said, sisters, if you're in this marriage thing, don't worry about being defiled here, because we're about restoring.
That's right.
We're about building. We're about feeding, and we want to feed the sheep, and we want to make sure that the sheep are protected.
Right.
So, because we got an answer for this.
That's right. That's right.
One day in one way. So I want to give all praise to the Most High Yah,
Hallelujah.
and we want to just close in a prayer. Most High Yah, we thank you. We thank you for allowing your word to come forth. We thank you for the interaction between the assembly and your people. Yah, we ask that we be fed through your word, and let your word nourish us through this week. Yah, give us what you need us to do with this word. Let us not just be hearers of your word, but doers also. Let us go out in the vineyards and gather the grapes. Let us go out into the wheat field and gather the wheat. Let us be those who will walk out and try to gather a harvest in your name. Yah Elohim, let us have hands of a husbandman, that we can go into the ground and we can sow good seed. And we not only sow it, but that we watch over it and tend to it and protect it. Yah Elohim, let those who are at the sound of our voice, that are looking for a place and are desperate to be fed, let them find solace here. And let them know that we honor you. So by honoring you, we'll honor them. So Yah Elohim, we just give you honor, praise, and glory. And until you return, we will stay here waiting as a bride, waiting for a husband, purifying ourselves, and getting ready, being washed with the word of righteousness. And all these things we say in your name. Hallelujah.
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 Amen.